In a rugged mountain village where winters were cruel and food scarce, lived a young warrior named Kale. Orphaned in a raid at the age of 10, he was taken in by the village blacksmith who taught him the art of forging steel and the discipline of survival. Kale grew not just in strength, but in will, a flame that refused to be extinguished. By the time he turned 20, the region had plunged into chaos. A tyrant warlord known as Lord Varric swept through the land with an army that burned villages and crushed resistance. When Kale's village was next, the elders pleaded with him to flee. But Kale's voice rang firm. "A warrior doesn't run. A warrior protects." Armed with only a sword he forged himself and armor stitched from scraps, Kale faced an army alone to buy his people time to escape. They called it madness. He called it purpose. On the battlefield, Kale stood like a mountain, unshaken by the wind. Blades clashed, blood spilled, and still he stood. Each time he fell, he rose again, not because he was unhurt, but because his spirit refused to yield. His enemies saw not a man, but willpower forged in fire. Though wounded and outnumbered, Kale's resistance became a symbol. Villagers from neighboring lands heard of the warrior who stood alone and came to fight beside him. What began as one man's stand became a revolution. Years later, when peace was restored and the tyrant dethroned, Kale was offered riches and titles. He refused them all, choosing instead to return to his forge. When asked why he fought so fiercely, Kale simply said, "Steel breaks. Flesh bleeds. But will is eternal. And it's the will of one warrior that can ignite the fire of many." Moral: true strength lies not in weapons or numbers, but in the unbreakable will to stand even when the world demands you fall. Subscribe for more.